Hi everybody, this is a video I've been meaning to make for a while. Today I'm going to be looking at the review of the FANATEC Clubsport v2.5 Wheelbase. I've had this wheelbase for quite a while now and I'm going to deep dive into all aspects of the wheel. I've added timestamps to the video, so if you want to jump to the bits that interest you the most, you can, but I'm actually going to jump straight to the review first. So ultimately, if you're interested in review only, you can just watch that. If you want to see the unboxing, jump to that bit. If you want to see the setup and installation, jump to that bit. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the FANATEC Clubsport 2.5 Wheelbase. This has the number 2.5 because there was a version 1, 1.5 and 2 before it, but this is their latest one and probably the last one they'll make because it's so good. A lot of people say this is the best wheelbase that you can buy before you go to a direct drive wheel. I've had this wheel now for about a year, I think, and I absolutely love it. I'll go into all the reasons why as the review goes on. I remember when I first started sim racing, this was the wheel that I wanted, the Clubsport wheelbase. Now obviously we have direct drive wheels on the market, and some people might wonder, if I only bought this a year ago, why didn't I just buy a direct drive wheel? So ultimately, direct drive wheels, still relatively new. I still don't really know which ones are worth getting, but the other aspect is that I'm using a Playseat challenge, so I'm not actually sure I'd get the benefit from a direct drive wheel, and this is probably the most torque that I can have on the Playseat. So let's just start by looking at the wheelbase itself. Ultimately, the wheelbase has a really slick, expensive looking design on it. It's made out of aluminium and all the sides anodized. It's got a really nice face on it where it's got the FANATEC logo on there, along with the start button and some mounting holes for third-party accessories or external shifters. And then if you actually look at the sides, you've got these vents that let the air escape from the side of it, along with two fans that help push that out. I think the motors are even on heat sinks, try to manage any heat coming out of the motors. And then at the back, you've obviously got the fan and the ports to plug it in. And then ultimately on the top, you've got this glass screen that lets you actually see the drives and the belts within it. So the belt drive mechanism is apparently made completely out of metal using the highest quality ball bearings, and ultimately delivers the smoothest, most precise force feedback possible. So if you compare this to wheels such as the G29 or anything like that, you'll notice it's got quite a notchiness to it, whereas this is super smooth because of the belt drive aspect. I've never noticed the belts slip or have any play in them. When I used to have the T300 Thrustmaster, they used to often say when that overheated, the belts would go a bit soft and you could feel a bit of play. I've never had anything like that in the FANATEC. Driving the belts are some brushless motors that provide like instant acceleration and have no dead spots around the center at all. And these motors give up to 8 Newton meters of torque. So I know some of the top end direct drives give 20 Newton meters. Trust me when I say 8 Newton meters definitely feels enough, especially on a Playseat. It's pretty standard these days, I think, but it's just worth noting that the wheel has 900 degrees of rotation. One of the main upgrades that the 2.5 had over the 2.0 is that the refresh rate of the USB and the motors actually went up to 1000 Hz, so doubling from 500. This combined with the direct sensor technology and the double hall sensors on both motors mean that you've got absolute precision even though it's a belt drive. So looking back at the wheel, the main feature of this right in the middle is the quick release system that has the ability to pass through data with no actual wires needed at all. So I'd say this is probably one of the biggest selling points for FANATEC just generally as a brand or a product, is that it has such compatibility with so many different wheels, gear shifters, pedals, etc. So you can see all these wheels here for drifting or racing or Formula rims, etc. And a lot of it has full customizability as well. So you can change the buttons and add extra accessories as you go along. So as you can see here, fitting a wheel is pretty quick to do. Removing it just as easy, and then if you want to swap to another wheel, just plug the other wheel in, carries all the data through, no extra faff. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to talking about the tuning menu. So I think you could do an entire video about the tuning menu on its own, but built into the actual hardware is this menu that lets you choose different setups for the actual wheel settings. So in Windows, you in some wheels can set up things like spring strength, etc. This is all set up directly in the wheel. As you can see, you can set the force feedback strength, shock, all sorts of stuff, drift mode. And the great thing about this, you can actually have it configured perfectly for one game or even one car, and then you can just go to a completely different setting. So this one's setting 5, and you can see there force feedback's only 40 on this, and it could be perfect for a different game or car. Okay, so let's get into some actual in-game use. And I'll cheat a little bit for this. I'll just use some of my footage from one of my many races on this channel. You can see the wheel in use in the bottom left-hand corner, and we're driving around a Nürburgring here, so you can sort of see how it's riding the bumps and responding to the actions that I'm doing. So all I can really say about this wheelbase is that it's very, very good. I haven't tried a direct drive wheel, so I can't really compare it to that, but I've tried Thrustmaster T300, Logitech wheels in the past, etc. And what I say about this wheel is that it not only has a real level of detail on all the force feedback, but it has this very fast response time as well. I think it's why a lot of drifters like using this wheelbase, because it'll actually, if you get into a slide or anything like that, you can catch it very quickly. I'm sure that a direct drive wheel will be a little bit better, but for me that was quite a step up from what I was used to when I first started using it. The other thing that I really found with this wheelbase is that I don't know if it's just the extra torque that it has, but it really feels like you're wrestling with or gripping the wheel of a real car. There's a real weight to it, so you're kind of holding onto the wheel and turning in just in the same way that you would with a real car. And obviously the flip side of that is then when you lose traction, whether on the back or the front, you can actually feel it. You can feel the understeer, you can feel the rear sliding, and that enables you to respond quicker to the feedback, and ultimately I think drive faster, or at least more consistently because of that. Okay, so on to some people's favourite thing, unboxing. So for some people, they're not a fan of unboxing and videos, it obviously wastes their time. For me, I like to see what I'm going to get, and for me actually with the FANATEC equipment, the unboxing experience is really, really good. So you start off with a very nice looking box, as you can see here. Sort of shows you all about the product and everything that's going to be inside it, but actually it's when you start opening the box you get some treats. So you can see it says hello, and if we lift the lid on this in a second, you'll see what it's saying hello about. And so it says hello realism, goodbye, and then toys. So that's almost having a bit of a dig at all the other manufacturers, almost to say that their products are toys compared to this. So you get a manual, as you'd expect. You also get a mounting diagram here, quite useful for people who have custom rigs. And then we're on to the main event. So I really like the fact that in this box everything's so nicely packed. Obviously shows a lot of care in the way that they've packed their items to you, which is always good, but also there's just a level of quality to everything. Nothing has been rushed, there's no cheapness here, and I really love the fact that the wheel itself comes in its own little bag. It actually reminds me a bit of the bags that you get your helmet in when you go racing and stuff. So we've got power supply and a few cables to go with that, as you'd expect, and then we've got the wheelbase. So yeah, kind of cool little bag you could do your shopping in or something. So wheelbase comes with sort of protectors on all the metal work, so good to keep it nice and clean and not have any scratches on it before it gets delivered. And sort of similar to that, you've got it on the glass as well, but ultimately it's just a very nice looking piece of kit. Okay, so let's move on to installation onto the Playseat challenge. So it comes with a mounting plate that you can use to tilt it up slightly. It's 4-hole one, or alternatively you could just mount directly to the wheel on the standard 3-pin triangle mount as well. The Playseat challenge comes with a pre-drilled plate, as you can see here, and so you can kind of choose where you want to mount it to. I did notice one thing, which is the plate can kind of be mounted in different places. If you mount it in a certain place, I don't think you can get the third screw into the Club Sport wheel. So obviously you can choose where you want to put that, and as you can see, it's all bolted in now, nice and easy. And from an installation point of view, that's pretty much it, right? It's on there now, and it looks like a proper piece of kit. All that's left to do really is to look at plugging in the wires and getting it ready to use. So there's some pretty basic ports on the back of it that you can plug the wires into. A lot easier when you're not trying to film at the same time. One of the wires is just a basic USB one, and the other one is power. Goes to a big power brick. So only one left thing to do, plug it all in and switch it on. And the wheel will go around, calibrate itself. There are some instructions on their website about downloading latest firmware and just making sure that you've got the correct software on your PC. But other than that, it's pretty much ready to go. So finally, in conclusion, should you buy this wheelbase? So ultimately, it's an absolute rock solid product. I haven't had any issues with it in the whole year that I've had it. It was definitely a step up from the Thrustmaster T300 that I had. Definitely obviously a step up from the old G25 I had. I think it's quite a controversial one because it is quite expensive, and a lot of people must be thinking, well, why buy this when for a bit more money you can buy a direct drive wheel, or for a bit less money you can buy one of the lower end wheels that's probably going to give you most of the bang for buck. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to try something like a CSL Elite or the new DD series from FANATEC, so I can't actually 100% give a conclusion of which is definitely better than others. However, when I did my research, I looked into it quite a lot, and I did feel that this does give a higher level of force feedback over the likes of the CSL Elite and obviously other cheaper brands. And from what I saw in reviews of the DD wheels, people were kind of saying there isn't that much in it. I'd be very interested to try it myself, but it feels like the much kind of more expensive direct drive wheels kind of giving you extra torque and power, which I can't really use on the Playseat challenge. And then some people sort of said it is a bit more direct, it is a bit more fast in response, just because it's not going through belts, it's directly driving the wheel. That said, for me, as you've sort of seen in this clip and some of my videos, this wheel is working fantastic for me. The level of detail, the options it gives me, the quick release, the exchangeability of wheels, the accessories, you name it, this wheelbase has delivered. So I definitely recommend it. So if anybody watching this is considering buying this or anything else, please use the affiliate link in the description below. It would just help support the channel if you do that. It won't cost you any more money, it will just help give us a bit of a kickback if you buy through there. And if you're watching this channel for the first time and you've made it this far, please like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in future videos. Thank you.